man, I suffered from this, painful. I couldn't hardly stand. I've always been depressed. I suffered from depression. I was suicidal. I sort of half listened to it, but I kind of blew it off. Then I saw your video. I mean, you inspired me that much. My inflammation markers gone, they're down. And that was one of the first things I noticed within a couple of weeks was my belt all of a sudden was 4 inches longer. And then the weight started just falling off. Just falling off.
What's going on, Dad?
Yeah, he said, you are getting skinny, Dad. I said, I told you. Yeah.
And you're down 65 pounds.
65 pounds.
Would you say you've essentially cured your diabetes? You're healed?
It's gone. I'm not diabetic. I wish I could get through to some of these people and help them.
Thousands and thousands of people reversing type 2 diabetes. And most of them say the similar thing to Hawk. It's like, it wasn't even that hard.
No, it was easy.
Yeah, it's easy.
It was easy. I was not expecting that within like a month of starting this to be my A1C in the clear.
It's just the foods we're eating. It's like,
it absolutely is. Absolutely.
Hello and welcome. Carrie here from Healing Humanity, the power of a proper human diet. And today I'm honored to have on the channel Hawk Force. Welcome to the channel, Hawk. How's it going?
Good. It's going awesome. I have to say fantastic.
That's great. Hey, listen, I've been looking forward to talking to you. You've been a very enthusiastic member of the community, leaving great comments, sharing your carnivore testimony and progress you've had. And man, just reading a couple of your comments, I get a couple of them had me tearing up a little bit, getting goosebumps.
Man, yeah, this does that to me too, big time.
Is that something? It's like, I don't know what it is. I was never like that before, but it seems like on carnivore, proper human diet, we're more in touch. Or I used to joke around like carnivores don't cry, carnivores will get emotional, but it's honestly, it's quite the opposite of that. It's like you're more in touch or something. But anyhow, I was looking forward to learning more about your story. Maybe if you could you take us back a little bit before you found carnivore or keto and what your backstory is?
Absolutely. Well, I was diabetic for over 12 years. I was feeling pretty bad. I was drinking a lot of water. I'd go to bed and I'd drink over a gallon through the night. And I was peeing like every 8 minutes. It was bad, and so I couldn't find my blood tester. And when I finally did, it said high for the reading. So if you get that, it means you're over 500 for your blood sugar. I was also going blind. I couldn't see. I couldn't read a street sign. And so I went to the emergency room and they were able to check my blood with their machine, and it was over 500, almost 600. And that was the first time I got put on insulin. Now the doctor, he just a tiny little bit of insulin, and then he said go up a little bit every week. And me and my wife were like, that would take months to get my sugar under control, And so we went on the internet, we Googled it, and my height, my weight and stuff, and it came up with 60 units for the day, 40 in the morning and 20 in the evening. And it was actually spot on for me and my body style or body type. So I would do 40 in the morning and 20 in the evening. Now, mind you, no one ever taught me how to use the insulin. And so we stick it in and I just plunge it. Oh my God, it burned so bad. It burned. And I was like, man, if I got to go through that, I'm scared to get an insulin shot. And so my wife was a waitress, and one of the other waitresses was on insulin. I said, ask her. You got to ask her, because, I'm not going to be able to do this. It felt like acid in your skin, And she said, yeah, you got to push it in slow. I didn't know. Nobody was teaching me, So I was on insulin, and he wrote a prescription for it. And the first one, the pharmacist gave me some kind of deal. He said, I have a coupon. So when I went for a refill, it was like $100 for insulin. And I was like, I can't afford that. And he said, look, go over to Walmart and you can buy it over the counter with no prescription for $24. He told me the brand and everything. And so that's where I got my insulin from that point on, over the counter at Walmart. I mean, Biden says he got us a great deal on insulin, $35. Man, you get it for less without him, you know? So I try to keep, you know, my carbs down and stuff, but I like cookies. I like dipping cookies, and, you know, always what you'll hear out of diabetics is, I've been good. Or someone will say to them, you've been good, go ahead and have some cake or whatever it is, you know, birthday cake or whatever. And another thought is that they say, well, I'll adjust with my insulin, which I guess is what the ADA says. You don't have to change your diet at all, just stay on top of your medication, you know. Well, I didn't know that insulin is actually worse in your body than having high blood sugar. If you have high insulin, it's worse. So another thing is, from the start, the doctor said, you have insulin resistance. And I was like, what is that? He said, well, you have too much insulin in your blood and it's not working. I said, so then how does adding more make any sense? And it doesn't. It really doesn't. And now that I know what I know, and that's one of the things that gets me emotional about this whole thing is, man, I suffered from this, you know. I used to get these leg swellings and blisters on my legs, and the ulcers I would get. Painful. I couldn't hardly stand. Painful. Kidney stones. I mean, bad. And it was so easy. You know, I've always been depressed. I suffered from depression, and you know, I was suicidal, sort of. You know, just ideation of it. I would think about it, but I would never do it to myself. I was more of the type that if somebody points a gun at me, I'd be like, "Do it." You know, I didn't do it. You know, or if I get hit by a car or whatever, that's fine. I didn't have a problem with that. But then I moved in with my son here in Texas, and he has 2 children, and I was getting into these sci-fi stories, and I'm like, I wonder what the future's going to bring. And it sort of made me want to be there to see, you know. So last November, I started thinking about my health, and so I watched some health videos and stuff, and I don't know. I think I've been bad to my body, and so I sort of went down this rabbit hole of supplements. Oh my gosh, bad. And so I was worried about my arteries, and so I take a lot of K2, D3, and nattokinase. I mean, tons. Oh, and niacin. You know, I got to get a CAC done and artery sonogram. But as I'm doing this dive into supplements, I bump into a Joe Rogan video, and he talked about carnivore, and I like, you know, I sort of half listened to it, but I kind of blew it off. Then I saw your video. You were talking about the steps, and you're going to do one take, you know, the five phases of it, and you showed your before and after, and I think it was like 8 months or less. Your depression was gone. I mean, you inspired me that much, you know, and I think that was right at the end of December, and I had kind of decided then, and I was telling my son, and he was like, "That'll be expensive," and I said, "You know, really it isn't, you know, because that's one of the things that people say to me, man, it's expensive." I said, "It's expensive not to." You know, and buying the garbage that you buy, the poison that you buy, you've got to eat so much of it that it really is more expensive to eat the sad diet, not to eat meat. You know, I eat meat. I've never slipped. I've never, you know, and I've been doing this. January 8th is when I said, that's it. That's it for me. Now, I wasn't crazy with the regular diet. I hate vegetables, always have, so I didn't really eat much of that. But I like rice. I'm Puerto Rican. I like rice. I like beans. But I mostly ate rice and chicken. But I like my toast in the morning with my coffee, you know. Oh, and I used to pump a lot of this into my coffee. A lot. These are brand new. I haven't opened them. That's how sudden it was. I've got 3 of these. Now, people think, oh, doesn't that tempt you? Not. I'm not tempted at all. If they understood the suffering, and I always say I'm an obligate carnivore, and people don't understand really what that truly means. It means I can only live if I'm eating meat. It's the only way I can nourish my body. And for me, that's actually a fact, because I would never slip up. There's some things that I would like in the morning when I'm making my ground beef and eggs. Sure, a slab of 21 grain toast would be cool, but what's the cost? What's the cost, And I've paid enough. So I'll never go back. As I say, I'm an obligate carnivore. So January 8th, I got on it. Now, of course, I didn't know how to shop for it. And I'm on disability, so I get a check a month. And the planning phase of it, I didn't, I obviously didn't get enough. At first, I would buy like chicken breast, ground beef, steak here and there. And like now, I don't even eat chicken because there's not enough fat on it. Now, when I did eat chicken, I used what you use, that Wagyu tallow, slather that in the pan and cook it in that, But it's just not a thing for me. Now, I did get a pressure cooker, and I want to do a whole chicken in there, When we were kids, my mom had a pressure cooker. I have 6 brothers and 4 sisters. And so she'd put a ton of stuff in this giant pot. And if you pressure cook chicken, you can take a whole leg and just eat it. You don't eat the meat off it. You just eat the whole leg, the bone, everything. It's soft. The bones get soft, and you can have your marrow and your calcium and everything. We would fight over the bones. So that's the plan, for chicken. But pretty much, I don't miss chicken. I eat bacon. I like to buy a pork steak because it has a lot of fat on it, and ground beef is my go-to. I'll buy 10 pounds of it at a time. I keep some in the freezer, and I just slowly bring it down as I use it. A lot of people ask me, "Don't you get tired of ground beef?" No, and I cook it the same way all the time. I don't make patties. I don't make balls. I just like if it's going to go into tacos type of thing,
Yep.
And I add a little bit of that tallow to it. Although lately I learned about ghee, and I like ghee. I like ghee a lot. My mom likes ghee. I turned her onto it. It's funny because I started the 8th, and then I had a doctor's appointment the 22nd of February. And so I wanted to get that blood test, so I have something to compare to.
Right.
And so I went into the doctor's, and they drew the blood. I was down like 30 pounds at that point. From the 8th to the 22nd of February, 30 pounds. Wow. And it's funny because I take methylene blue and put drops of it in water, because water's the only thing. I've always only drank water because of my kidney stones. But methylene blue turns your pee blue. I mean, very blue, depending how much you take. And I've always been a creature of excess. And so when they asked for that urine sample with the doctor, and I brought it out, it was, I'm talking blue, dude. I'm not talking Gatorade blue. I'm talking like navy blue.
Wow.
Yeah. But nobody said anything. And usually when you get that lab report, they describe the urine, it's clear with a yellow tint, whatever.
Yeah.
They weren't touching mine. It did have blood in it.
Wow.
And the next day, boop, another stone.
Wow.
Yeah. But it was probably one of the smallest ones I've ever had. See, I had a stone. It was 9 millimeter by 6 millimeter. It was stuck in the ureter between my bladder and my kidney.
For those that aren't familiar with kidney stones, the most painful thing in the world? No?
Oh my God.
I've had two. And I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy. Like there was nothing. And my wife, Jen, who has birthed triplets, she's had kidney stones and she's like, give me another triplet birthing. Like I'd rather go through pregnancy again than have a kidney stone. It's so horrible.
Yeah, you can't get comfortable. There's no position you can get in to alleviate any of that pain. None. Yeah. So the first kidney stone was that big one. And so I said, well, how do I keep from getting it? And the urologist said, you got to flush that stuff out. And so from then on, I was water. My son drinks sodas. My wife drank sodas. I just was never really a soda drinker, so I drank water. And I mean, by the cases. And so I still do. You said something on this one time about the plastic water bottles and stuff. So I had gotten this alkaline water at a gas station, and so I kept the thing because it's metal with a plastic liner, I guess.
Nice.
Whatever they spray inside. I don't know. It's got to be better than that flimsy bottle.
Right.
So she called me back to the office to get the results of the blood work, and she goes over it with me, and she said, "Well, you're not diabetic. My A1C. I'm not diabetic. I'm not insulin resistant." I was just blown away. There's no way I expected that, you know. Now, another thing is I had to watch the Ken Berry videos to find out what all these numbers really mean. You know, they don't ever really go through it with you.
Yeah.
You know, at the office. And then there's another doctor. I forget his name, but he put actual blood work thing up on a board, like, and went through every one. That's how I really figured out my insulin resistance was gone. He said, because you got to look at this number, and this number, and if they're in this range, you're not insulin resistant. You're insulin sensitive, as you should be. My inflammation markers gone; they're down, and that was one of the first things I noticed within a couple of weeks. Was my belt all of a sudden was 4 inches longer. And it would just, it's a military web belt. It would barely latch, you know, is how they have it cut. And it's hanging off like this much. And at the time I hadn't really lost any weight, you know, but I was feeling better already. Now, mind you, the first 3 weeks, yeah, at night, sitting here watching TV or whatever, I'd get the cravings. I would want some Nutter Butters or something to dip in the milk. Bad. And so I started getting bacon, and it takes about 12 minutes. I just cut up a few, 5 slices. I cut the whole package. I cut down the middle, you know.
Yeah.
And I put them in the air fryer. 12 minutes on 360. Is ready to go. And then I saved the grease, put it in a cup, and I'll cook the next day. I'll cook my eggs with the grease, you know. And that got me through it. Got me through it. Now, initially, I had planned for cheat days and stuff like that, you know. I'd talk to my son, and I'd say, well, once I'm where I feel I need to be, then, yeah, we can go out to eat or whatever, you know, that type of thing, the mentality. And hearing you talk, with the moderation thing and that. And, you know, I've been a drug addict and the whole thing, and you're absolutely right. You know, you can't go back to that and think that you can just taste it. No, it doesn't work that way, you know? It doesn't matter if it's alcohol, cocaine, heroin, whatever, pills. It doesn't work that way. Or it would have been that way from the beginning, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And after I heard you saying it, and really, and it's a process, you know, the mental part, the physical part, and getting it all tied together. That was when I came to the decision that I'll never go back. And after 3 weeks, well, as I approached the 3 or 4 week mark, man, I was hungry. I was eating all the time. And I'm thinking, and my weight's not going down, right? I feel good, energy, sleeping good, the whole thing. But my weight wasn't going down. And I'm thinking, man, I must be eating too much. And I was eating, you know? And so I go and watch some videos and see what everybody's saying. Okay, well, really, I wasn't eating too much. I was eating more often, but I wasn't eating a lot. I ordered a little kitchen scale. Or one guy did a video. He says, I eat a pound of ground beef each time he eats, you know? And so I thought, well, I'll start with a pound, you know? And after that 3 or 4 week, I ate that pound. I didn't eat again for 24 hours. I just realized it. And one time I ate, and I'll eat like 3:30, between 3:30 and 5 o'clock. I went 48 hours. It wasn't like I was starving. I was, you know, waiting for the time. I don't set things in granite for myself. Some people say they like to wait till after 12 to eat their first meal. Well, after 12 is a lot of hours for me. I'm sometimes up at 3:30 or 4 in the morning. You know, so I like to wait 4 or 5 hours after I get up before, if I'm going to have an earlier meal like that, 4 or 5 hours, and I'll eat. So whatever time that is not, to me, the important thing. It's the 4 or 5 hours, you know. That way then I can have another meal within 4 hours, and then I fast the rest of the time, you know. So I wasn't losing weight. I was eating a lot. And then I think it's when I fat adapted, and one meal would really hold me. And then the weight started just falling off. Just falling off. Now, I've got this hernia that goes right up the center here, from navel to sternum. And like if I'm trying to get up like this, it looks like an alien, a giant white alien trying to come out of my chest. I just noticed today that I can't force it out now, which tells me that I had a lot of visceral fat, you know? And I've got a little finger-sized one just above my belly button. And it was just a little ball, like a bubble. And it would hurt sometimes, I guess where it's tearing through the muscle or whatever. It's not there right now. So that was a bubble of fat too, I would imagine. And my mom said that now that the fat's gone, I can probably go in there and have it repaired, you know?
Right.
I'm down to 200, which means I've dropped 65 pounds. And
wow.
yeah. And it's just holding at 200. I did drop below 200 one time, and I was like, but you know how a scale is. You can swing from morning to night within 8 or 10 pounds.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so I take an average. I don't hold any major weight to the numbers on it. It's just a habit of something I do. I get up, I pee, stand on a scale, carry on with the day.
Right.
But my mom was I was keeping her abreast of what I was doing, because I was down there staying with her. I hadn't seen my mom or anybody else in my family for over 20 years. I came to Texas and raised my son, and he's not my genetic son, but he's my son. You know, he was 5 when I got him. he's the coolest dude, man. He's a drummer. But we came here to Texas to have a better school for him, because in South Florida the schools were crap, and so I hadn't seen anyone in my family. And after being here 20 something years, Kevin's mom left me, and I was devastated, And I drove back down to Florida to visit my mom, and I got shot on the way down in the foot.
What?
Believe it or not. Yeah, a friend shot me in the foot, and it was bad, It was like the icing on the cake of my life, And so I was down there with my mom. She's a retired nurse, and she helped my foot heal. And I was living with her for a while. My son came down there and brought me back to Texas. So now my son, he's not carnivore-ish, but he's ketovore, I guess. He's dropped the sugars. He doesn't drink Gatorade. Because he came over here. He used to live in the room next to me in this house. And he came over and goes, "Dad, you are getting skinny."
What's going on, Dad?
Yeah, he said, "You are getting skinny, Dad." I said, I told you. I said, I'm never hungry. It's not that kind of a diet. You're not cutting calories. I don't even consider calories. I don't even, the word calories doesn't even enter into the whole deal, And I said, Kevin, because he's got irritable bowel, bad. And I said, Kevin, man, I would be irritated too if I ever got some what you put in there.
Right.
And this is before I even was carnivore. I mean, the stuff that he eats, a lot of spicy hot Cheetos and fire Cheetos and stuff like that, or ramen that's super hot. I mean, yeah, I can't do that. I never have. And I said, man, you've gotta cut the carbs, the sugars, And I give him some stuff, some of my supplements to help him out. And he finally, he said, "Dad, I'm cutting sugar." I said, "Oh, are you really?" He said, "Yeah." And so he's doing mostly meat-based. I don't know how much is lip service, but he feels better.
Nice.
He feels better. Mom's loving it, but she doesn't have a gallbladder. And which is kind of wild, all these people with their gallbladders out, and probably the only reason that happened was because they were on a low-fat diet,
Yep. Ironic, right?
Unbelievable.
I'm one of them. Jen too. Me and my wife Jen.
Man, unbelievable,
I had such bad stomach issues and from the foods I was eating, and the doctor's like, "Well, we could take the gallbladder out. Maybe that'll help." I was so desperate. I was like, "Take it out." So I lost my appendix, lost my gallbladder, kidney stones, and all this of food I was eating.
Unbelievable.
So
go ahead.
You're down. Man, this is crazy because you're just a couple months, 4 months or so.
I'm 103 days right now.
103 days.
Yeah.
And you're down 65 pounds.
65 pounds.
So with the diabetes, would you say you've essentially cured your diabetes? You're healed?
It's gone. I'm not diabetic.
And how long did you have that? Like when were you
over 12 years?
12 years. All that insulin, all that medication, all that suffering.
Oh my gosh! I still cry about it. Now here's another thing. My depression. I'm alone here. I mean, I'm alone. It's just me and my dog. There is another couple in the house, but they work and stuff. I don't hardly see them, so I can go like a long time without speaking to another human. And when I was first here, man, it was kind of very depressing. I guess is the only word to say. But I'm okay now. I'm okay now. And so it took me a while to work through my feelings because really I see this stuff and I'll cry about it, but it's more of an empathy, I wish I could get through to some of these people and help them, That's why I love what you're doing. with this documentary. I think it's awesome. I don't get out much. Mostly it's just to go to the meat department and get groceries for the month, and anybody who will listen. And I get mouthy, I know I don't have a lot of time, and I try to get all this information out in a short period of time. But if they sit there and they'll listen, I'll tell them. And a lot of them sound like they're very interested, but I think that a lot of people just, there's no way that what I'm saying can be real.
Right.
When I tell them, hey, I was diabetic on insulin, 2 shots a day for over 12 years. I'm clean of that.
Did you ever think, because here's my thing with diabetes. I have a lot of family and friends, and what you said earlier, Hawk, you're good. You've been good. You can treat yourself. Oh my goodness. I hear that from when we have birthday parties, reunions, and I got a family member. He's got the CGM monitor, and he'll eat birthday cake, drink Pepsi, eat all this stuff, and then he'll look at it like, oh, I guess I went a little over. I gotta be good later.
Big shot. Yep.
And but for me, I got several family members with diabetes, and I know more about it now from Dr. Barry and from talking to people. But before this, I was like, oh man, you get type 2 diabetes, that's it. You're a lifer. There's nothing you can do about it.
That's what I thought.
You can heal diabetes? And so you've healed your diabetes. And then
I've reversed it. Yes.
Reversed it. It's gone. Yeah. It's just the foods we're eating. It's like,
it absolutely is. Absolutely. And it's just that easy. Get rid of the grains, the carbs, and the sugar.
Yeah. That's what's frustrating about it.
It's just that easy.
Like, you're passionate and you want to talk about it, but rightfully so, because for 12 years you were suffering. Needlessly
suffering
and given the wrong information. If they would have just said, here's the root cause of the problem, it's your food, instead of giving you insulin and the medicine. And for people that are watching this now, and you're like, well, Hawk, this guy, sure, he reverses type 2 diabetes, he's an anecdote. Go watch Dr. Barry's video on reversing type 2 diabetes. Thousands and thousands of people reversing type 2 diabetes. And most of them say the similar thing to Hawk. It's like, it wasn't even that hard. Like,
no, it was easy.
Yeah, it's easy.
It was easy. I was not expecting that within like a month of starting this to be my A1C in the clear. Now, when I go in June for my next blood work, my A1C is going to be down even lower.
Right.
I know it will be. And it's sad because I love what Dr. Barry's doing about the ADS, American Diabetes Society, because the ADA, my mom took care of my grandmother at her house, and my grandmother lives to be 102 years old. And she was diabetic. And my mom, being a nurse, she was going by the guidelines of the ADA. And my mom said that whenever she followed their guidelines, grandma's sugar would spike. Every time.
It's criminal. It's criminal.
It really is. It really is. It really is. And I've never followed the ADA. I didn't really know anything about them. I knew they existed. But when Dr. Barry showed the recipes that they have and stuff for diabetics, I'm like, holy cow.
Yeah.
Now, at that point, I'm carnivore, and I'm like, somebody needs to do something, That's just wrong. That is wrong.
Yeah. For people that they're sick, they're suffering. Like, we should be helping people that are sick and suffering, but
not taking advantage of them.
Right. And it's one of those things.
Future.
I'm seeing this more and more, probably because I'm thinking more clearly on carnivore. Maybe it's the same for you, but so many things in this world that we thought were true. It's like the opposite.
Oh my God.
The opposite. If you would have done the opposite of what the diabetes
pyramid, it needs to be turned over.
Upside down.
Yes. Yeah. Wow.
Even it goes deeper too. I don't know if you've seen some of the videos they did, but like with Jeff DeProsperous, he's got cancer.
Yes.
It's like science. Cancer thrives on glucose, sugar.
It loves it, right? You feed it.
It absolutely loves it. And these people like Jeff are getting cancer treatments, and they're like, here's a cookie, here's Ensure, have some sugar.
Right.
what are we? They have cancer. We're supposed to be helping them.
Yeah,
and
here's some oranges and cookies for after your treatment to help you feel better. What the hell?
The complete opposite of what we should be doing. It's insanity, man.
Yeah,
So
it really is. And the other thing is, it can get confusing because, like, say melatonin, right? I just did a research on melatonin, and there was a video. The guy said how much melatonin to take, and he's like, as much as you can stand, right? Now, apparently, they did this study where when you go to sleep and you have a tumor, the melatonin that comes out of your brain because the light is shut off to your eyes, it blocks this cycle that the tumor is pirating, and it redirects it back to your mitochondria. And so he said, what you have to do is take high dose melatonin, but during the day, because during the day, your brain's not making melatonin because of the light. And so he said high dose. And so I went looking, and the highest dose I could find was 20 milligrams. But in the study, the melatonin was really helping. Of course, they were doing the other things, on top of it. You don't want to just do one thing.
Right.
You want to throw what you can at it,
Yeah.
And okay. It's like my diabetes. Okay. Yeah, was it just because I only eat meat? Well, I don't know, because I'm doing a lot of other stuff too, with supplements and methylene blue, and it has to help, all of it. Now the methylene blue, it is a electron donor, and it can take an electron, and they keep it in all emergency rooms for if you have carbon monoxide poisoning. If you get hypoxic, because it will help you oxygenate your cells. Now, it does work down at the mitochondria level. That's where it donates electrons. And when I first started on it, man, my son was like, did you take caffeine pills or something? Because I'd be all jacked up, energized, I said, no, dude, it's just the methylene blue. Now, if you play with it, don't spill it, because it is a dye for textiles, and it's blue. It is blue. It'll stain your tongue. It's blue. But also, when I started taking it, I wanted to see where the upper limit is if you feel bad, And they say you can take like 5 grams per, 5 milligrams per kilogram. And so, I probably pushed that one. But other than really dark pee, it's fine. Now the half-life is like 4 or 5 hours. So, and I've gone through 3,000 milligrams of it since November. I'm okay.
Yep.
I'm good.
Well, so what other things are you, so to go over your list, you're down 65 pounds, type 2 diabetes. You touched a little bit on depression, anxiety.
Yeah. Now, when I was down there staying with my mom, I might be an older guy, but I try and do stuff, like I like to ride BMX still. I used to race BMX. I like riding skateboards, longboards now. But I was riding an electric longboard, and I come around the corner, and a Honda hit me from the side. I mean, right in the knee. It had to be the grossest looking thing, because I know it went, at the knee. I thought my leg was broken as I'm lying there in the road. One of the times I was wearing a helmet, I went through that dude's windshield and everything. I thought my leg was broken. I mean, my leg hurt bad. Bad. The ambulance came, brought me to the emergency room, and they took an x-ray and said, oh, you didn't break your leg. And to them, that's it. They sent me on home with crutches that were too long, and that was that. And so I had just healed up from being shot in the foot, the other foot, and had 2 steel pins in it, the 2 outer toes. But I'll show you a picture. It's nasty. It went in the top and just came out the side. And so busted those two last bones on the outside of the foot. And so they put two steel pins in from the ball of the foot to hold that together. Mom yanked those out with some needle nose out of her toolbox.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
dude. Yes. Yeah. So my knee, I couldn't put any weight on it, and that was it. We got me a one of them scooter things that you bend your knee and put your knee on it.
Right.
And I never went to a doctor, and I limped, and I walked with a cane. Now, when I sit down like on the toilet, man, that knee grinds. I mean, grinds. I can feel the grinding. But the pain, I don't limp. I don't hurt. My foot doesn't hurt. Oh, neuropathy, man, from the diabetes. These two fingers on both hands, bad going numb. They're coming back. These two fingers were trigger fingers. The tendons, they're not doing that anymore. This hand, I couldn't even make a fist because these two fingers felt dead, like leather or something. It's coming back. My vision's coming back. I still wear readers, but I can see like the letters on the TV and stuff. I can read it. Floaters, they're almost gone, and I had bad floaters. Oh my gosh, bad, really bad. Diabetics get real bad floaters. They're almost gone. What else? Well, I haven't had a headache in months. That one I'm not sure what that is. You know, methylene blue or what? You know, but I used to get bad headaches, and I don't think I've had one since before November. So, what else? My back. Because that's where I'm on disability for. I went skydiving in '95. It was Valentine's Day of 1995. It was down in the Homestead drop zone, and I blew out the guts of a disc in my L4, L5, and I had surgery within 7 days. And they did what's called a laminectomy. They go in there and they clean the pulp up. They open up the opening for the nerve to pass through. Wow, I was cured, you know. But they didn't tell me you only get about 10 years out of that surgery. Nobody mentioned that. And I was a big dude, you know, 220 pounds, muscle, scuba diving, dirt biking, rock climbing, the whole deal, you know. And I always did heavy jobs, you know, welding, construction, moving. I used it. I used that surgery. And in 2007, he gave out. It's like 11 years later, almost to the day. He gave out, and I went into the orthopedic. And he says, I don't even know how you're walking. He said, there is no disc. He said, that sharp pain you're feeling, it's like your vertebrae bumping into each other. So he said, I'm going to have to lock it all up for you. And that's what he did. He went underneath the skin and went over to my hip and formed out a piece of bone. And there's like a staple between the two vertebrae that stabilizes that little piece of bone that he formed. And then he's got bolts that hold the two together. And that formed bone calcifies and it grows and it fills in where the disc used to be. And so instead of having two vertebrae, you have one, but it's the size of two. Now, of course, that starts pushing this strain to the next one, you know. So it goes L4, L5, and then S1 or something like that. They're sacral. And it's, you know, it gets pressure. But with this carnivore diet, and my iliac joint, which is where you know where your tailbone has that arrow pointing down, arrowhead. Well, on the side of it, it floats there, sort of in your hips, the big wings of your hips, and the iliac joint is a non-moving joint, they say, but it just flexes a little bit, right? You know, mine moves, and when it moves, it feels like somebody's shoving a hot poker through your back.
Mm.
And I haven't had anything like that on this carnivore at all. And I'm sure that a lot of that is just because the inflammation's gone in my whole body, totally gone.
That's like a game changer for so many people that you don't think about, that inflammation going away, because it affects things that you probably didn't even, some things that you realize were a problem. Yeah. Other things you didn't even know that was an issue till it's gone. You live with it for so long.
Right.
My lower back was one of those cases. My lower back always hurt for years. And I was like, I just screwed that up. Interestingly, I went skydiving too on my 18th birthday. Didn't injure myself, but man, I landed hard because I remember I was pretty heavy at that point. I don't remember my exact weight, but they were like, if you're 2 pounds heavier, you wouldn't be you're too heavy for the parachute or something for jumping out.
Wow.
But I landed hard because they tell you at the last minute, like flare up.
Right.
But anyways, I had always thought I injured my back years ago. Like I lifted something weird, and that's just the way it's always going to be. And it was like 2-3 weeks into carnivore. I'm like, crap, my back doesn't hurt at all. Like,
that's exactly about the time. About 3 weeks, your inflammation just like disappears. And that's why that belt was 4 inches longer.
Yeah.
I still weighed the same. But for some reason, I didn't have, my waist went down. I was like, wait a minute,
Right.
And then I started doing the research, and they talk about the inflammation. And it has to be, has to be.
Our buddy Bill in Alaska, he said the same thing, and it was right around 2 or 3 weeks. He was like, man, I had this horrible pain. Like, how could that go away so quick? I'm like, inflammation. Like, that's almost worth the price of admission alone.
Oh my God.
Aches and pains going away forever.
See, and watching the videos and stuff about the inflammation and cholesterol and what's causing damage in your arteries, the cholesterol, I always say to people, that's the spackling you're putting over a hole that's damaged. Yes. The cholesterol is the last step in the whole process.
Right? It's going there to help, but it's getting all the blame.
Yeah, it's there to help, right? But it's the last effort put into it. So if you can get to it before that point, which is lowering your blood sugar, lowering your insulin, getting your inflammation down, you're good to go.
Yeah. And the inflammation too, like we're talking about it in the back and the elbows and the body and in your waist, but your brain gets inflamed. Your gums get inflamed, everything does. But when you get that inflammation in your brain.
Yeah, I had a tooth that was like real sensitive all the time.
Yeah.
At all. I really noticed last night because I was scrubbing really good. And nothing there. I was trying to find it, And
same
it
with me.
Light up when I brushed,
Yeah.
I couldn't find nothing.
One of those things too. It took a while for me to notice that, but I'm like, man, prior to this, I always had these weird toothaches and issues, and my gums were bleeding and inflamed. I'm like, my teeth feel great, my mouth feels great. All these little added benefits you don't realize. Yeah. So you have healed yourself, right?
All over, dude. Like across the spectrum. I'm like, wow.
Isn't it something like you mentioned how you get fired up and you want to talk to people and tell people? I do the same thing. My wife's like, chill out a little bit, but it's hard, right? Because when you heal yourself like that, it isn't like you
want to shout from the rooftops,
Yes. And it's not like you broke your leg and you healed from it. No, you were pretty much suffering, well, for 12 years from the diabetes, but inflammation, all these other issues, brain fog for your whole life.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like you're finally able to feel this is what it's like to feel like
be a human.
A human, yeah.
Yes, my gosh. To be a human, because let me tell you, the whole time I was in Texas, well, from 2007, I've been on painkillers. I was on painkillers, heavy duty painkillers.
Right.
And when she left, it was cold turkey. And I mean a lot, like methadone, cold turkey. We were on methadone to try and get off. And then I was homeless and starving to death. And my son rescued me. He saved my life. He came and saved my life. And it was kind of like, wow, man, I could see the world without the drugs. And I was like, man, she didn't even give us a chance, to know each other clean.
Right.
I was like, wow. And now there's this,
Right.
because she tried the, what's it called? It's that diet where it was a high protein diet. What was that guy's name?
Atkins.
Yes. She had tried the Atkins diet and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and had her little keto sticks that you pee on.
Yeah.
And she really had to take care of me sometimes, with my back and stuff. There was a time in our life where I couldn't move. And so it was like 5 or 6 months I couldn't move. I could barely walk. And so forget wiping, and talk about degrading. I mean, somebody having to wipe you every time. I mean, wow. But she was a trooper. She did it, And I kind of maybe couldn't understand that didn't see a good future for the two of us, But look at me now,
Right.
Could have.
Right. Yeah. Do you feel like you're addiction free now? Because you mentioned you had some addictions in the past, and that's an interesting thing with carnivore that I hear from a lot of people. I think about it for myself. I never had a drug addiction, but I was addicted to sugar. I was addicted to diet soda. I was addicted to maybe gambling at some point. And it seems like I don't know if those addictions are a way our body's coping with trauma or a way our
I
brain is.
really think it is. I mean, I really think it is. I mean, um, I got into drugs at a young age, but I was the third child of 11. I was the second son.
Mm,
And there's 7 boys and 4 girls. And my father was like the #1 psychiatrist. He was in med school in Madrid, Spain. He was like 16 years old. I mean, the dude was pretty sharp. But he was abusing his children.
mm,
But just my older brother and me, he was beating us horrifically. And I mean, from infant to teenage. I remember we had a pool table, and my dad takes my older brother in the room, and he comes back out, and his stick was broken.
mm.
Or he'd be playing tennis, and he'd catch him out there in public, and he would swing that racket on him. Oh, but not like he's hitting a ball. He'd put the edge of the racket to him,
Mm.
And we'd go to the police and do all that. They took pictures, and then they always brought us back. So I was on the street when I was 13 years old. I wasn't going to take it anymore.
Mm.
I went in the Army early because I needed a place to lay. I was sleeping on benches and stuff. So I figured, well, let me go in the Army, and so I did. But that gets in your head,
Right.
And so you're looking for an escape from that, and it becomes a just terrible repetitive cycle, because when you come off or out of the stupor, life is still hell, and so and it's something that you carry with you, for the rest of your life. Now, some would say, well, would you change that? Well, not really, because I'm pretty tough because of it.
Right.
I know I'm tougher than any of them brothers of mine.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you that. Me and my older brother, we're the toughest in the family.
Mm.
No doubt about it. Whether it's fighting or whatever, none of them could hold a candle. Now, mind you, the other ones are like surgeons and stuff like that, but I really wouldn't trade it because of the character. That's what it is. The character that it instills in you. Yeah,
Right.
sure. It sucked, and it's something that it's a scar. Like if you get cut, that's something you'll carry for the rest of your life.
Right.
And I tried talking to my mom about it once, and she was more like, you're 50 or whatever. You gotta just get over it. And in my mind, I'm like, wait a minute, man. It doesn't work like that, you
Right.
know? It doesn't work like that. Now, mind you, I was a believer in, because my depression and my bipolar, um, my manic phase of bipolar would be rage.
Mm.
But it was more of an out of body with me because I couldn't stop what I was doing. I couldn't. You had that one guy that you interviewed, and he's bipolar and talking about the rage. I used to destroy my own stuff that I loved,
Mm.
you know. And I'm. It's like an out of body. I was watching myself do it, and I got tired of that. They put me on lithium. I'd have these twitches in the muscles, and you know, and SSRIs. Oh my God, I don't know. I've tried every one they make,
Mm.
and lots of it, you know. And so I always came to figure that depression was sort of situational, the trigger of it, and it could be a relationship, it could be your job, or a money thing. You can't pay your bills on time, and so the job and the bills are tied together, and so it being situational. If you change your situation, you change your depression. If it's your relationship, then maybe you guys should split up, you know, or mend it. But don't sit there riding the same troubled waters. That's not helping you at all, you know. And it pretty much had worked for me um, for years. But then, you know, I kind of got to. I just didn't let anything affect me. I didn't get mad. I didn't get sad. I didn't get, you know, I just was sort of flatline. And that's not the way to be either, you know? It, joy is a good thing, you know? You should get joy out of life. I didn't have it. But man, I can't tell you the last time that I had it, you know? Um, but the bipolar thing, gone. Um, the depression is gone. Now I had
Mm.
to do a lot of soul searching to figure out whether this emotional drainage of my eyes was depression. And it's not. It's definitely an empathy thing, you know, because, and not just for me, I mean, because there's a lot of things that regret or whatever, or hope, or, you know, man, I sure wish I had known about this
Right.
years ago. But it's more of a, man, there's a lot of people out there suffering that don't have any idea. They don't have any idea. I'm talking to this couple that I met on Facebook, and they live in this town. I've never met them, you know, um, but the one had a tumor removed from her brain, and so now she has traumatic brain injury, and so she gets seizures, and so she seizured and she broke her neck, like in 3 places or something. So she's got all these steel plates in her neck, and they're trying to survive off of nothing, you know. And I try and help them out financially as much as I can, but I don't have a lot to go with. But I'm trying to get them to do the diet because I know that her big deal is inflammation, you
Mm.
know. And
Yeah.
she would get on a carnivore, and of course they say, "Man, we can't afford that." And I said, "No, you can't afford not to."
Can't
And
afford not to.
yes, and I tell them, here's the thing: what would you do to not be sick anymore, or to not have pain anymore, or for your son to not be in the autistic spectrum as
Mm.
deeply as he is, or, you know,
No.
what would you do for that? Anything. You don't have to do anything, just change your diet.
Yeah.
It's that easy. You
Mm.
don't have to give up anything. Well, it costs so much. I said, you know what costs? And this, when I kind of came across it and mentally, what costs is what you're eating now and what you're feeding your children. because it doesn't sustain them. It's poisonous to them. It feeds that autism negatively. Um, and when you get out, and trust me, I'm not over here eating ribeyes. I'm not. I'll eat, if I eat 3 times a day, it's ground beef. If I eat 2 times, it's ground beef. One of them with egg. You know, I'll make a pound of ground beef. I'll put 4 or 5 eggs in there. You know, and I eat till like Dr. Chafee says, you eat, and then when it just the taste changes, you're done.
Yeah.
And it works. It's amazing that works because I never had that signal before,
Right.
never. And it's the carbs, you
Yep.
know,
It makes sense too.
carbs. Oh
Makes
my gosh,
every other species of animal doesn't have this
none of them
overeating
are
problem,
fat.
right?
Yes,
Just eat till you're full. That's it.
yes, they eat what they're supposed to eat, and they eat in the amounts they're supposed to eat, and that's
Yep.
that.
Us big brain humans are the only ones that are
We're
screwing up so
overthinking the
bad.
whole thing.
Yeah. Man, it's interesting what you're talking about, man, because you've been through all sorts of stuff your whole life. Uh, I almost wonder, like you said, it's great because you're the toughest of your siblings, and it's shaped your character. So there's obviously horrible sides to what you went through as a child, but then on the flip side, maybe you wouldn't have been
Right?
so tough and independent to do what you're doing now that healed you without it. I struggle with that with my children, to be honest, too, because I'm like, I went through a very rough childhood, alcoholism, divorce, went to 6 different schools, ran away at 14, like bunch of stuff too. And so like with my kids, I'm like, man, I almost worry they got it too good. Like they
Too
need
easy, right? Yes.
yeah, they need some adversity. They need something to shape them. If it's always just great and fine and there's
Right.
no adversity, like how's that going to set them up in the real world? That's something I really struggle with.
Yeah, I agree. You know, and my when I was in Florida, my son he would call or text, and he needed this or he needed that, and I wasn't doing anything, you know, and so I didn't. If I'm not paying the rent, my money kind of goes to Amazon. You know, I just buy crap. You know, and so it was no problem. He asked for money, I'd cash out him money, and it was happening a lot. You know, and he's a liar. We're all liars, right? I caught him when he was 5 in his first lie, and
Right.
it was devastating to me, you know. And I called my mom. You know, she raised 11 kids, and she said, "Oh, it's just a phase." Really, Mom? He's 30 years old. When's he going to phase out of it? You know, but he's telling me, "Oh, Dad, I need money for tires. I got 2 tires. I got to get the other 2." You know, and the problem with liars is they can't remember the lie they told. You know, I'm pretty sharp with memory things, and so when he came down there and got me, I flew him down there, and then he drove me back here with my dog and a U-Haul trailer on the back of my car that my mom gave me. And we get here, and he's needing 2 tires, and I'm like, oh boy, oh boy. I said, and he was wanting me to come, you know, and I'm like, I wonder how that's going to work out for him because I'll be there. He's not going to get the money he used to get from me. And he doesn't. He doesn't. And so I said one day, I ordered him his tires. And I said, it's funny, man, how I have to buy 6 tires for your freaking car, you know? He said, that was a different car. Come on, dude. You think I don't know what car I was buying tires for?
Right.
But then he left. He got a girlfriend and he moved out and left me here. I'm here with his friends as a roommate.
Mm.
I don't know these people, so it's just me and my dog, Butters, and we pretty much stay here and we do our thing. I'm
Hey,
the only one. I'm the only one that cooks.
right? Your dog has an awesome carnivore name, by the way.
Butters. Now
That's awesome.
there's a
Providence.
funny reason for that name. She was a little ugly puppy, and I used to live in an RV park, and the people in the RV next to me had 2 children, and the little girl had a bit of a lisp, and she was saying puddles,
Hmm.
puddles, but it sounded like butters
Yeah.
to my ear. And so when they left, they abandoned her there. And so I'm thinking South Park Butters,
Right.
you know, and they already were calling her Butters, and that's her name. Now she's the right color and everything. That's what everyone says. Oh, she looks like Butters, because she's that lab buttery yellow sort of, you know.
Awesome.
But she's an awesome dog. I don't know what I would do if I didn't have her.
Yeah. Man, we got 2 dogs too. I
I
love
love it.
dogs.
Oh, your dog's smiling. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, you had asked, is anybody else's dog? I used to have this brindle pit, a female, and I just lost her a couple of years ago. And I had her for 16 years, right? I used to come home and come out of the car and I'd go like this. And she'd smile like your dog, just like your dog. And I'd just do this with my finger and she'd just sit there and grin. Just like your dog, dude. When I saw your dog do it, I was like, oh my gosh, that is so cool. That is so cool.
Love it. Man, your story, Hawk, is amazing. Thank you so much for sharing it. It's just incredible. I really appreciate all your support and comments on the channel. And it's so inspirational. Like, people are going to watch this video. I just wait. You're going to see this, man. People are going to watch this video. You're going to inspire people. They're going to say, Hawk can do it. I can do it. Maybe they went.
That's what I tell people. If I can do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yep. So I tell people too, I'm like, there's nothing special about me. I mean,
that's what I always say. I'm not special. I promise you, I'm far from special.
Yeah. The only difference is Hawk and I we got sick of being sick, and we're like, let's just do it.
Oh, man, yes.
Let's do it.
And that's why I quit dope.
Sailing.
That's why I quit the painkillers. You get so sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yes.
You know?
Yep. Absolutely. Well, Hawk, thank you so much for sharing this. This has been incredible, man. I'm happy to know you. You got an open invite. You said you're in Texas, right?
Yeah.
We got to meet up at some point. We're going to be in Texas end of May, beginning of June for the Hack Your Health thing. But I'm hoping that we can. I'll definitely tell you if we do it. I'm hoping we can organize some sort of carnivore meetup there, because have you been to any carnivore meetups ever?
No, and I can't wait though.
I can't wait, dude. It is. You'll get addicted. Like, it's so much fun because your energy, my energy, like that carnivore energy in a full room with like 100 people.
Oh my God, it's got to be awesome, dude.
Room just lights up.
Just being in this community, man. That's why I get fired up with the comments and everything. Yeah. Because I've never really felt like I was part of anything, you know, that I belonged anywhere.
Right.
And everybody in this community, and whether it's on Facebook, on YouTube, whatever, they open-hearted, you know?
Yes.
I mean, the way that Jen talks about you guys are all family now and stuff, I really feel that way towards you guys. And you just, I mean, your video is what inspired me to start this thing and give it a try, you know? And I said, man, if this guy can do that in 8 months, I can do it.
Yeah.
I can do it, you know?
Yeah.
And I was just hoping, honestly, I was just hoping for some kind of help in my illness, you know?
Yeah.
I never expected it so quick. I never expected it to be so easy. I mean, I sit here day in and day out. It's not like I'm exercising.
Right.
I don't hit the gym. I'm going to start, you know, but I don't hit the gym. I adjusted what I eat.
Yeah.
I eat meat.
Yep. It's amazing what happens. You get out of the way, just let your body do what it was intended to do, and everything just heals.
Yes. It's a self-regulating system if we let it self-regulate.
We just get the hell out of the way, right? Stop screwing around and monkeying around with it. Just let it be for once.
Right.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's an amazing thing. It really is.
It's hard not to be passionate and fired up when you suffered most of your life and you're healed.
Man.
Just want that.
And, you know, and I'm 56 and I don't feel like it's over. I'm not at the end of this thing. You know, I'm at the middle of the race, you know?
Get started.
Yeah. You know, for real.
It's like it's like people say to me too, like, oh, you're so passionate, you're so fired up about this. It's like you get a second chance at life, you're going to be
That's it
passionate
right
and
there.
excited
Yes.
about it.
Yes, I got a reprieve, and I'm going to make the most of it.
Yes.
Believe it.
Awesome.
Believe it.
Man, I love it. I love it, man. Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
Yeah. We got to do another one of these. Maybe if you're open for it at some point, no pressure, but I'll
No,
send you
man,
an invite.
hey, I don't do jack, I promise you. So I'm available 24/7, anytime. You got my number, whatever
Love
you
it.
need. I wasn't joking. Whatever you need.
We'll do a live stream. Get some live comments. I think it'll help a lot of people. One last thing I want to say real quick,
Questions
Hawk.
coming in and stuff for sure.
One last thing I want to say real quick is, some crazy thing that keeps happening is we're filming for the documentary, right? So anyone watching, if you want to learn more, healinghumanity.movie. It's completely crowdfunded. We're every penny we give donations, people buy the shirts, go towards the documentary. But we just got done filming. Every person we filmed, we filmed Dr. Tony Hampton. He had just like this beautiful blue shirt on, and it went really good in the background, right? And then we went to film Jeff DeProsperous in Canada. He had this blue shirt on. I'm like, man, that looks good. And then we went to film Dr. Barry. He shows up, blue shirt. And Adam and I are like, man, this is like the theme of Healing Humanity. Now, before talking to Hawk this morning, I was in South Carolina filming Mimi. And I was going to tell her, I was like, hey, no pressure, but can you put on a blue shirt just because it seems to be the theme? She was
Keep
like,
it going.
this is what happened. This is the craziest thing. Like Providence, there's something bigger happening here, Hawk. She was like, oh, I was already going to wear blue. And we get to her house, and her whole house is blue. Like the bookshelves, the books and the shelves are blue. The background, the tablecloth is all blue. And now just before this call with you, Hawk, I interviewed another gentleman. His name is Arn, A-R-N. He was a Vietnam vet. Dude shows up. He's wearing a blue shirt. Now she's sitting here talking to Hawk. What color shirt you got on?
It's a blue.
Did I tell you to put a blue shirt on? Did I ask you to put a blue shirt on?
No.
And look at the beautiful background you got too.
I was
the sea and blue.
I was wearing a white Iron Maiden T-shirt, and I thought, and the thing was acting funny on the print. So I said, oh man, I better change the shirt. It doesn't want to show Eddie or whatever,
Right.
So I pulled it off, and I just grabbed one out of the basket, and this is it.
It's blue, and you got the blue background, man. It's some weird stuff going on here. But when we went to film Dr. Barry, Adam said to me, he's like, Carrie, because I was getting a little nervous, like this is a big deal, filming Dr. Barry in person. He said, Carrie, this is bigger than you and me. And when he said that, he's like, it's so true. There's something bigger going on here. I just got to step out of the way. You share your story. I share my story. We all share our own stories, and that's what's going to change things. People get inspired.
That Mimi story, dude. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Now, my mom wanted to know about whatever she had made. I forget what it's called. But what spices did she use?
Nothing.
Just
No
butter,
spices.
right?
No spices. So she made beef shank.
That's what it was, shank.
And I'm gonna have it. Man, this is a great transition, Hawk. I'm finishing editing that video probably in the next 2 days. It is actually Mimi cooking, because everyone keeps asking me, and she did it we filmed it, her cooking this beef shank. There was no spices, and this wasn't flattery. I believe in telling the truth. 400 days on carnivore, that was the best meal I've had. It was incredible.
Oh, I know. And your daughter was like, amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so much so that yesterday, I just got back. I got back at 3 a.m. yesterday, went to the butcher shop. I got 3 beef shanks, and they're dry aging in my fridge right now. So she dry ages them, which I've never done that either. She just salts them and puts them in the fridge on a rack, leaves them for like 2-3 days before cooking them. But there's no spices. And then she finishes it with bone broth and butter, and she made like a gravy that poured over the top.
That's what I told my mom. I said, and she makes this thickening gravy and doesn't use any flour or anything in there. She said, I wonder what she's using. I said, I don't know. We'll have to ask Carrie.
I'll show it in the video. And the gravy thing too. Mimi was telling me, and I was saying this, I'm like, every time my whole life before carnivore, you'd add flour. What do you got to thicken the gravy? She thickened the gravy up, and it just, you'll have to see the video, but I'm like, I didn't even know that was possible. It was absolutely incredible. So good for you too.
Yeah, my mom's I try, I'm turning her on to steak and butter gal.
Yeah.
She does those all meals and stuff,
Yeah.
And I'm ground beef man. That's it. Boom. I eat ground beef, But my mom, I know she would get bored. Yeah.
Ground beef and eggs, a little bit of bacon.
Dude, yeah, that's me. Ground beef and eggs, and tallow. Boom.
Yep. Got to get the fat.
Yes, I always add the fat, right? Oh, here's a funny thing, all right? Now, I was on the supplement kick, right? And then I got into the carnivore, and then Dr. Chafee said, you can't overeat fat because any extra is going to come out the other end liquefied.
Yeah.
And so that's how you make your adjustment, right? Well, I'm a creature of excess, as I might have mentioned. And so I'm taking nootropics and CoQ10 and everything else, right? And so I take my electrolytes in pill form. Now, I do have my keto drops also. And I like those. I like how it adds a flavor to the water. But if it says take one, one's not enough, And so, like, I'll be honest, dude. I feel stupid saying it. I've had diarrhea for like 90-something days.
Mm.
And so I'm thinking, man, it can't be all that Wagyu, right?
Right.
So I cut back on all these supplements, and I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, dude.
It's funny because I have a similar thing to that, and for I did all sorts of supplements, electrolytes, all that stuff in the beginning. For the last several months, nothing, just nothing, and I feel so much better.
Salt. I told my mom, I said, and Carrie's going no salt right now. She was like, what?
Yeah.
Because she's been watching your videos. I turned her on to your videos. I said, this is the guy that got me on this diet. And so I send her links and all that,
Right.
And then I said, yeah, Carrie's going no salt. She said, what?
Here's my biggest thing is you mentioned Dr. Chafee. Like, that's what, when I see it, my old doctors, they were overweight. They had their own issues. I want to emulate Dr. Chafee. I want to be like him when I grow up.
Right.
Not just how he looks, but his energy, his brain, everything.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And that's what he does. Like, he's like electrolytes. I mean, if you need them when you start, fine. He doesn't do any electrolytes, and he barely salts his meat either. I think he salts them before he dry ages them in the fridge, but that's it. That's all he does.
His fridge setup is so bad.
I know. I'm like,
it's badass.
I need a dedicated fridge for just that stuff.
It is badass.
Yeah.
Dude, and then he does those seminars where the way he talks about the plants,
Yeah.
I mean, every living thing, and I'm kind of get kind of chafey-ish. I said, every living thing on this planet wants to do two things, right? It wants to live and procreate.
Yeah.
And plants can't run or fight. So they got to make weapons and toxins.
Yeah.
That's how they do it.
Absolutely.
And I didn't know all that until I listened to him.
Yeah.
And it makes sense,
Right.
And I've seen videos of a baby in a high chair. You put a piece of broccoli in his hand, and when he bites it, the face that he makes, that's our brain working with us to tell you, don't eat that. That's not good.
Right.
But we force our children to eat this stuff. You can't leave the table until your plate's clean.
Right.
And I remember being there for hours after dinner was done.
Yeah.
Hours. I'm not eating it. You're either going to let me sleep here or you're going to get tired and you're going to throw this out. Well, when you have 11 kids, though, I guess, I don't know, man. I mean, they had money. But we had this milk delivery. We had this little cooler at the front door, and they'd bring glass jars of milk and put it in there. I remember one time that the stuff had gone bad, and my mom put it in a pot and put sugar in there with it. And all the kids had to drink the spoiled milk.
Mm.
Not me. The okra ladle full and the slime coming off of it. Not me. I wouldn't eat tomatoes, nothing. Especially as an adult. You may have forced me when I was a child. I'm grown now. I'm making my own decisions. I will not eat vegetables, Right. I won't eat a tomato. Genetically speaking, it's not done evolving internally. No. And so when you talk about carnivore, I was like, carnivore? No veg? I'm in.
Right?
I'm in.
That's the thing. Like, wait, you're telling me all I got to do is eat steak
Eat
and I'll
meat?
heal and
Yeah,
cure everything?
I can eat meat.
I can handle that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can eat meat.
Awesome, man. Well, this has been absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for your support and sharing your
Man,
story.
thank you.
Do you want to shout anything out, or do you want if people want to learn more? Are you doing any social media or not? As far
Not really, not yet.
I love that too, man. You just want to share your story, get the word out. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Hawk.
Man. No, thank you, man. I'm behind you all the way. Like I said,
Appreciate
anything you need, for
Awesome.
sure.
Awesome. Well, have a great day.
You too, brother. Thank you.
See ya.